So most of us have a dining room table, probably a coffee table too, but my next guest says we often overlook a handful of table styles that are just as important. From the living room to the master bedroom, we're all talking about tables today, sharing how this often underutilized piece of furniture can give any room a boost. The fabulous designer, Lauren Oviatt, is here with her ultimate furniture guide. You're kind of into tables lately.
Okay, this is like, every time I come here, I'm like, this is great. This is a great topic. I'm so excited. People need to know this. People need to understand. But the cool thing about this segment, Brooke, is that we are not pinpointing. We are not telling you what kind of table to buy or what kind of style you should be shopping for. These are principles and elements of design that everybody can learn. And it's really, once you figure it out, you're like, yep, that makes total sense to me. So these tips and tricks on different tables that you need to have in your house in order to fill things out are really meaningful.
So any budget, any style, these principles apply to you. And as I think about it, it's such a functional piece. And that's where I get excited, when fashion can meet function and it just makes sense in a home. So let's start with the console table. You say at the front door, we want that entry table that will kind of welcome the room.
Absolutely. So console tables are traditionally long and narrow. They're usually between 32 and 40 inches tall. So you'll see them in a long hallway, which is really nice because you don't need a lot of space for this kind of application. But a console table is a great place for accessories and art to sit over top and just a way to welcome you into the house. The other thing that I love is these tables can be really versatile. It can go behind the sofa if you're floating your sofa in the room. It can go, you know, against a bedroom wall where you don't have a lot of walking space. But the console table is really special because it is a chance to give personality and texture and a chance to accessorize and bring light to spaces that really wouldn't otherwise be able to accommodate.
Next, the skirted table, and I believe I've seen this in your entryway, right? And it's so lovely, it's so polished, it's so purposeful.
Yeah, and this is kind of like the southerner in me is like, oh, give the table the skirt. It's so beautiful and really functional. You'll usually find these obviously round, sometimes octagonal, skirted in any fabric that really speaks to your style. So it can be a heavy brocade with fringe at the bottom, it can be striped, and just easy breezy, something washable. But how incredible is this? And
I love it.
Used kind of in all different ways. So if your entry is larger, then float it there and accessorize it with tall, beautiful things. You can float it in the middle of the room. You could even use it in your family room as kind of a corner to your sofa grouping.
Okay.
And they're usually taller, around 30 inches tall, like a dining height. That's usually the size that you'll find. But so beautiful and really like a great way to bring texture to a place and upholstery to a place that wouldn't otherwise have it.
Right. We can only have so many throw pillows, so we can bring that texture to an additional piece. This next one I wouldn't even have thought or referred to as a piece of furniture, but it really becomes a talking point because it is so functional, a drink table.
A drink table. So once you've got all your other tables covered, a drink table is like jewelry for the room. I love these little pieces. They're really typically small. They're typically about the height of like the seat of your chair or your sofa. So between 18 and 20 tall. And the fun thing about the drink table is it's meant for just a little glass or a little votive or even like a place where you can put your laptop while you're working. Just like a little pull-up spot where you can set your phone or something while you're sitting there. The fun thing about shopping for a drink table is you can look for tones that you want to bring into the room, like glass or metal or marble, and really kind of have fun with this little piece. And it does become kind of like this cute little conversation piece where it's totally unexpected, and yet when you see it, it becomes really functional.
And so usable for a party. I'm thinking of people always eating birthday cake on the couch, right? They have that little side pull away. All right, sofa side tables. How is this different than a drink table?
Yeah, so the sofa side table is like the scaled piece that sits next to your sofa or next to a chair grouping. So 99% of the time I go on a furnishings project, we're kind of looking around and the client says, okay, well, what do I need? And I look around and I see sofa, chairs, carpet, and then there's nothing else. I'm like, girl, you gotta have your tables because the table really adds a great element of scale and a grounding to the room, which you just, otherwise your pieces just float. So it's something that's intended to be next to your sofa. It's usually about the height of the arm. So reference that with your sofa when you're shopping. And consider the scale. because if you want to place lamps on it, or if you need a place to put drinks and accessories, then you want to scale that up too, and that's totally okay.
I love when you start talking dimensions and proportions and math, because then it feels so calculated, right? And purposeful.
And easy to do.
And makes sense, yeah. All right, the coffee table most of us have, could we do better?
Yeah, so things to keep in mind with a coffee table, always reference the height again of your sofa. So sometimes you'll see them a little bit lower, which is kind of more contemporary, like 17, but typical sofa height is 19 to 20.
So taller than we might think.
So the coffee table can be, and is intended to be about the, again, the height of the seat of your upholstery. But the thing that people miss a lot is the scale of the coffee table. And it's so much fun to play up the scale. You really only need 12 to 18 inches of walking space between your sofa and your coffee table. So don't be afraid to go bigger, because then again, it gives your guests more room to put their feet up.
Yes.
This could be an ottoman too, so keep that in mind. More room to put your feet up, more room to accessorize and have fun, and really just allows your furniture grouping to grow in a way that feels intentional.
Yeah.
You can't just put a postage stamp size coffee table in the middle of your big room. So really consider filling that out.
Yeah, which forces us outside of the Targets
Yes.
and the Walmarts, who are typically scaled a little smaller. But that's a good rule of thumb. You only need 12 to 18 to walk, so go bigger in that space. Finally, the nightstand. This is another one that I think proportions matter.
Absolutely. So the easiest rule of thumb is the bigger the mattress, the bigger the nightstand, if you have room.
Okay.
So, you know, to put a giant nightstand next to a twin bed might feel a little bit weird.
Right.
Same thing with a king. Putting a little mini nightstand is going to feel a little bit out of scale. So consider that when you're shopping.
Okay.
I love to have storage in the nightstands that I source for my clients, because it just adds an element of functionality. But the other thing that you really want to think about is the height. So if you have a low-lying mattress, don't shop for a really tall nightstand. You want to kind of match the height, or close to, of your mattress with the nightstand, because then it allows the function of really being able to reach and use that as a functional piece.
What do you think of a dresser as a nightstand? I'm seeing that, like a
Brilliant.
small,
Like a
smaller
little
sized.
chest. Yeah, so pretty.
Okay. This was fascinating and smart. Smart design. Where can we get more advice from you?
Well, always on Instagram. That's kind of where I'm sharing my day-to-day. And then I have a website at laurenoviet.com.
And I'm sorry, I saw a magazine write-up about a certain designer that we love. That was fantastic.
Nice.
What was the publication?
So it's Freddie, which is kind of a break off of Schumacher, and it's this really cool design community that's just starting. So that was really a fun surprise yesterday.
Well, a deserved honor. That was great to see. We cheer you on always. Thank you for the advice. If you want to revisit this conversation on tables, Table Talk, go to our website, studio5.ksl.com.